I'd like, just in my brief remarks, to describe my own experience as a policymaker with this issue. When I first came to power in 1997, one of our first acts was to sign the Kyoto Protocol, which is the world's first climate change treaty. Later, when I had the presidency of the G8 in 2005, we put climate change actually on the agenda of the G8. And then 2 years later at the G8 at Heiligendamm in Germany, we came up with some principles at that level of how we would try and construct a new global treaty. And the truth of it is that in those early years, really the focus was all on international treaties and international negotiation. Now, that process of negotiation has continued, but let us say it has its own special challenges. At the same time, during the course of my time as Prime Minister, I started to realize that the global negotiation was one element, but really we had to start mobilizing civic society, consumers, and business in order to say, we just can't wait for some great global treaty to create the better world. We've got to get active ourselves. And the Climate Group, which is the international business NGO, which is pushing green solutions, we actually begun that precisely with Mark and with others because we wanted to make sure that we didn't hold everything up whilst we wait for this global negotiation to succeed. And I would say that two things are therefore happening at the same time at the moment. Actually, at a global political level, it's pretty tough. Sometimes at a national political level, it's pretty tough. But the interesting thing is that despite that, occasionally I even think because of it, but despite it at least, there is an immense amount of activity going on in society, at the state level, at the city level, and at the business level. And we can see this very clearly here in New York. We've just finished the Olympics in London, where we put a great emphasis on an Olympics that was actually clean and green, and by and large did so. Whatever is the problem at a national level here politically, and that's not for me to comment on, but at the state level, as Mark has just indicated, there are some very exciting things happening. And perhaps as important as anything else, what is very clear is, one, that business is actually changing the way it works, and doing so not always because it's directed to by government, but because it actually believes it's right to do so. And secondly, ordinary people, consumers, are trying to get hold of green solutions where they can and apply them in their own lives. So really the purpose of the Climate Week here today is to launch the publication, An American Clean Revolution, and say one major thing, not just to this country, but through this country to the world, that driving this clean revolution here and elsewhere is massively in our self-interest. It's in our self-interest because of the changes to our climate that are happening and will intensify and get worse if we do not act, and because also there are very good reasons of energy diversity and security of supply, and of cost even, for taking these solutions and embracing them. And the more that we do so, the more we drive efficiency and value through those solutions and multiply the possibilities associated with it. So I would say, certainly over in Europe, there is now a huge appetite amongst ordinary consumers for solutions that can allow them not just to feel a sense of responsibility, but often to save money in things like energy efficiency, and to be part of a change in the way society consumes. And here also, as the Clean Revolution indicates as a publication, there's potentially enormous benefits in the development of technology, in jobs, in industry, and in security of energy supply. So this is, the purpose of the Climate Week is just once again to try and bring everyone together, to keep this item high on the agenda, and to give people a renewed sense of hope and optimism that we will in the end resolve it. And resolving it, you know, I spent 10 years as a prime minister, and sometimes I used to think by the end of it, the thing I'd learned most was not the power of government, but its limitations. And this can never be solved by government alone. And it may well be that in the end, it is through a bottom-up revolution that eventually carries governments and the global negotiating machinery with it. It may be that in the end sparks the biggest amount of momentum and change. But this is an important moment, and this is an important document. And by coming here together with such a distinguished group of speakers, what we're saying loud and clear is that whatever the challenges of the financial crisis, this issue remains high on our agenda, that there are solutions out there that work, that what is necessary is to mobilize support for them, and that for us, as not just citizens of a country, but as global citizens, this issue remains absolutely critical to the future of human progress. We won't let it drop. We will continue agitating for the solutions that are there and can be developed. And in doing so, I think we will achieve something very important, not just for our generation, but for future generations too. Thank you very much.